Seniors, stop eating 7 worst fruits. They are destroying your leg strength. Have you ever wondered why your legs feel weaker, even though you eat healthy and stay active? Why does walking short distances feel harder than it used to? Why do stairs suddenly seem taller, heavier, and more tiring? You might be doing everything right, but there could be one thing quietly working against you. Fruit. Yes, fruit. Not all fruits are as innocent as they seem, especially if you're over 60. 7 common fruits you probably eat every week may contribute to muscle weakness, joint pain, poor circulation, and even nighttime foot cramps. One of them contains more sugar than a can of soda. Another, famous for its vitamin C, might silently inflame your joints. And the worst part? These fruits are often labeled as healthy. They've become staples in our homes, hospitals, and senior nutrition plans. But science and experience are now telling us a very different story. In today's video, you'll discover which 7 fruits are secretly draining your leg strength, how they affect inflammation, blood sugar, and nerve pain, what to eat instead for real, lasting strength and mobility, and the powerful truth about how eating with mindfulness can heal, not harm, your aging body. The 5th fruit we reveal may shock you, because you've probably eaten it this week without a second thought. This isn't just about fruit, it's about freedom. The freedom to walk with strength, to move without pain, to age with clarity and control. So, grab a quiet place and stay with me until the end, because the insights you're about to hear may change how you eat and age. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Buddhist Health, and hit the bell so you won't miss any of our healing content. Every click helps us share more wisdom, peace, and wellness with others like you. Let's begin. Pineapple, the tropical betrayal. For most of her life, Evelyn believed she was doing everything right. At 67, she had outlived her husband, raised 2 children, and now lived peacefully in a small home in Sarasota, Florida. Every morning without fail, she made herself a smoothie, a vibrant blend of banana, spinach, almond milk, and her favorite fruit, pineapple. Sweet, juicy, and tropical, it reminded her of summers in Hawaii and family picnics by the beach. More than that, she believed it was helping her joints. "It's got bromelain," she'd say to her daughter. "It's anti-inflammatory." That's what she read in an article somewhere. And it felt good to start her day with something healthy. But over time, Evelyn started noticing something strange. Once steady and sure, her knees began to feel stiff in the mornings. The short walk to the mailbox took longer than it used to. Getting up from her recliner required a deep breath and a moment to gather herself. She chalked it up to aging, just part of the process. But deep down, she couldn't help but wonder. Was something else going on? She brought it up casually while visiting her doctor, who referred her to a dietitian. The pattern became clear after a few weeks of tracking her meals and symptoms. The culprit wasn't her age. It was her beloved pineapple. As we age, our bodies change, not just in how they move, but in how they process food. Pineapple, packed with vitamins and the famously praised enzyme bromelain, is also high in natural sugars and citric acid. In a younger body, those elements might not cause much trouble. However, people in their 60s or 70s can quietly stir up inflammation, disrupt digestion, and slowly aggravate joint pain, especially in the legs. Bromelain itself is a double-edged sword. While it can aid digestion in small amounts, it also has the potential to thin the blood and increase sensitivity to medications, particularly blood thinners, which many seniors rely on. Combined with high levels of fructose and acidity, pineapple can become less of a friend and more of a hidden trigger. In Evelyn's case, the citric acid slowly irritated her knee joints. The sugar spikes from her morning smoothies increased water retention in her lower legs, and the bromelain, interacting with her low-dose aspirin, may have been contributing to the bruising she had noticed around her calves. What felt like aging was a chain reaction set off by something she thought was good for her. It was hard for her to accept at first. After all, we grow attached to our routines. There's comfort in the familiar. But once she swapped pineapple for a handful of blueberries and added half an avocado to her breakfast instead, things started to shift. Within a few weeks, she noticed that getting out of bed felt easier. Her ankles weren't as swollen. The walk to the mailbox felt less like a hike and more like a stroll again. Looking back, she said something I'll never forget. Sometimes the things we believe are helping us are just part of a story we've been told. But the truth becomes clearer when we stop and listen to our bodies. Evelyn's story is not rare. It's common for seniors to keep habits they picked up decades ago, not realizing that their bodies are no longer the same. Pineapple isn't inherently bad. But if your joints ache, your legs swell, or walking feels heavier than it should, it might be time to take a closer look at what's on your plate. Not with fear, but with wisdom. Because living well after 60 isn't about holding on to what worked at 30, it's about learning how to nourish the body you have now, with intention, awareness, and the courage to change. Banana, the golden deceiver. Harold, 72, started every morning the same way, walking shoes on, a cup of coffee in hand, and a ripe banana. For years, he believed it was his secret to staying energized. Potassium, right? Suitable for the muscles, that's what they always said. But lately, something felt off. His legs, once steady and strong, felt heavy. His ankles began swelling, and nighttime cramps in his calves would jolt him awake. He shrugged it off as part of aging, but deep down, he wasn't convinced. Curious, Harold began tracking his meals and symptoms. A pattern emerged. Every time he had a banana in the morning, his legs felt weaker by midday. The swelling was worse. The fatigue set in faster. He didn't realize that bananas, especially ripe ones, are packed with natural sugars and fast-burning carbs. In a younger body, this might not matter. But after 60, the body processes sugar more slowly. That quick energy turns into insulin spikes, water retention, and inflammation, particularly in the lower body. Harold wasn't just tired, his legs were reacting to sugar overload. The banana he thought was helping him was quietly working against him. So he made a simple change. He swapped his banana for half an avocado and a few almonds. Within 2 weeks, the swelling eased and the cramps disappeared. He later said, "I thought bananas were giving me strength. Turns out, they were taking it." Bananas aren't rotten. But for aging bodies, it's time to ask, is that energy real, or just a short burst followed by a crash? If your legs feel heavy, if your steps are slower, maybe it's not just age. Perhaps it's the fruit you've trusted too long. Grapes, sweetness that stings. Martha loved her evening routine, curling up on the couch with a book, her feet propped up and a bowl of grapes nearby. They were her healthy treat. No baking, no guilt, just nature's candy. But over the past few months, something changed. Her toes began to ache at night, a deep pulsing pain that made sleep difficult. Her knees felt stiff in the morning. She started walking slower, carefully, like the floor might betray her balance. Her doctor mentioned the early signs of gout. Martha was stunned. She didn't drink and didn't eat red meat often, so where was the uric acid coming from? It turns out, the answer was sitting right in her lap each night. Grapes are rich in fructose, a natural sugar that in excess can increase uric acid production in the body. This can quietly trigger inflammation and even gout for older adults, especially those already managing joint stiffness or kidney strain. A small bowl of grapes may seem innocent, but over time that fructose builds up, leading to pain in the toes, ankles, and knees. And the tricky part? Grapes are easy to overeat. One handful turns into 3. You don't feel full. You just feel the sugar working in the background, long after the last bite. Martha didn't need medication, she needed moderation. She swapped her evening grapes for a few cherries, which were lower in fructose and anti-inflammatory. And within weeks, the pain eased and her steps felt lighter. Just because something is sweet and natural doesn't mean it's harmless. If your joints ache at night, if your toes throb without reason, it might not be age, it might be the grapes. Ask yourself, is that late-night snack helping your body or quietly making every step harder? Watermelon. The hydration trap. It was a hot summer afternoon, and George reached for what he always did on days like this, a cold bowl of watermelon. Sweet, refreshing, and light. It reminded him of childhood picnics and family reunions under the sun. It felt like the perfect choice for a man in his 70s trying to stay hydrated. But later that evening, his legs felt strangely heavy as he climbed the stairs. His calves ached, not sharply, but with a dull, persistent soreness. The next morning, He noticed the same thing. Fatigue in his lower legs, even after a whole night's rest. It didn't make sense. He was eating healthy and walking daily. Why were his legs slowing down? The answer, surprisingly, was in the watermelon. Though it's mostly water, watermelon has one of the highest glycemic indexes of any fruit. That means it causes blood sugar to spike fast. For seniors, especially those managing prediabetes, circulation issues, or inflammation, this spike doesn't just disappear. It lingers, quietly impacting blood flow to the muscles and nerves in the legs. When circulation slows, legs feel tired, sore, and weak, especially after meals. What feels like post-lunch fatigue might be your body reacting to a flood of sugar disguised as hydration. George didn't know this at first. It's just fruit, he'd say. It's mostly water. But his body was telling a different story. The leg pain faded after swapping watermelon for cucumber slices with a touch of sea salt and a few blueberries. Stairs felt normal again. His stride returned. We often associate watermelon with innocence, purity, and even health. But for aging bodies, it behaves less like fruit and more like candy. It may temporarily cool you down, but it could cost your legs their strength in the long run. So next time you reach for that juicy red slice, ask yourself, is it refreshing your body or quietly draining your power? Orange, the acidic illusion. For decades, oranges have held a sacred place at the breakfast table. A glass of fresh squeezed orange juice, a bright, tangy slice with your oatmeal. It's practically a symbol of health, packed with vitamin C, great for the immune system. Doctors recommend it. Commercials celebrate it. So how could something so pure, so widely praised, be part of the problem? That's the question Linda began asking herself. She was 69, active, sharp, and always took pride in her routine. But lately her mornings had changed. Getting out of bed took longer. Her knees didn't want to bend. There was a stiffness in her hips that she couldn't stretch out. It wasn't painful exactly. It was just locked, and like something in her body had quietly rusted overnight. At first she blamed the weather. Maybe it was the cold, perhaps the mattress, but the stiffness kept showing up, persistent, unwelcome, and oddly timed. Always worse after breakfast. And that's when she looked down at her morning orange. What many seniors don't realize is that oranges, despite their bright reputation, are high in citric acid. And while that acid isn't harmful for most young bodies, it can quietly intensify discomfort in aging joints already inflamed or worn down. It acts like a mild irritant, especially in those with arthritis or joint sensitivity, exacerbating stiffness, soreness, and reduced mobility. Linda didn't need to eliminate vitamin C, she needed a better source. So she swapped her oranges for kiwi, a fruit just as rich in vitamin C, but lower in acid and gentler on the joints. Within 2 weeks, the morning stiffness eased, her steps felt smoother, and she didn't miss the juice. The truth is, what once helped us in youth doesn't always serve us in age, and sometimes the things we do out of habit, even healthy habits, need to evolve with the body we live in now. So the next time you peel that bright orange, pause momentarily. Ask, is this habit healing you or quietly holding you back? Green apple, the sour bite of misbelief. It looked harmless enough. Crisp, green, polished to a shine, Eleanor's go-to afternoon snack. At 74, she took pride in making wise food choices. Green apples always topped her list. Lower in sugar than red apples, she'd tell her friends. Great for digestion, right? That's what she had heard. That's what she believed. But then came the aching hips, the fatigue in her thighs, that deep, dragging soreness after just a short walk through the grocery store. She figured it was age catching up, maybe a touch of arthritis. But what puzzled her most was how it came and went. Some days, her legs felt fine. Others, it was like walking through wet cement. Eventually, a pattern emerged. The pain didn't follow the weather. It didn't follow the activity. It followed the apple. Green apples contain a natural compound called malic acid, known for its tart flavor and occasional use in supplements for energy. However, in older adults, especially those with sensitive digestion or underlying joint inflammation, malic acid can become an irritant. It doesn't just stay in the gut. It can trigger low-grade inflammation that radiates into the hips, thighs, and even knees. Not sharp pain, but a steady discomfort that wears you down. Add to that the natural sugars in apples, often overlooked because they taste less sweet. For a senior with slower metabolism and reduced insulin sensitivity, even mild sugar can cause blood sugar swings. And those swings don't just affect energy. They disrupt circulation, weaken muscle recovery, and fan the flames of chronic inflammation. Eleanor didn't want to believe it. How could something so crisp and clean be the cause? But after skipping her daily apple for a week and replacing it with a few slices of pear and a bit of nut butter, she felt the difference. The tightness eased. Her stride steadied. It wasn't magic. It was awareness. Sometimes the healthiest-looking foods can hold silent consequences, especially as our bodies change. So if you're eating green apples and feeling achy afterward, it's worth asking, is this fruit still working for your body or just for your routine? Eat to heal, not just for pleasure. After all the warnings and wake-up calls, feeling discouraged is easy. You might think, if I can't even trust fruit, what can I eat? But this isn't about fear. It's about awareness and choosing foods that serve your body the way it needs to be served, not in this chapter of life. Because not all fruits are created equal. And some are more than just safe. They're powerful tools for healing. Let's start with berries: blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. Small in size, but mighty in impact. These little fruits are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that help reduce oxidative stress and support healthy circulation. They're naturally low in sugar and gentle on your blood sugar levels, giving your body what it needs without triggering crashes or inflammation. Many seniors find that adding just a handful to their breakfast can reduce joint stiffness and even ease chronic leg swelling. Then there are cherries, especially tart cherries. Known for their ability to lower uric acid, they've become a go-to for those managing gout and arthritis. In moderation, cherries can help calm flare-ups before they start and bring welcome relief to aching toes and tender knees. And don't overlook avocados. While technically a fruit, their creamy texture and healthy fats make them a superfood for aging bodies. Avocados help regulate insulin, reduce systemic inflammation, and support the health of joints and connective tissue. They nourish your body from the inside out, helping your muscles stay fueled and your legs feel steady. Papaya is another gentle ally. It's soft, easy to digest, and packed with enzymes that soothe the gut and reduce inflammation. A massive win for seniors with slower digestion or sensitive stomachs. Many find it comforting to end a meal, helping digestion while restoring calm to an overworked system. Even peas with protein or fiber can provide pears as a naturally sweet, blood sugar-friendly option that supports your energy without straining your circulation. These fruits won't just satisfy your taste buds, they'll help you rebuild. They work with your body, not against it. They offer sustained strength, smoother movement, and fewer painful surprises when standing, walking, or sleeping. Because food at its best is more than fuel. It's medicine, it's love, it's care in every bite. And when you begin to eat with healing in mind, not just habit or pleasure, you'll start to feel a more profound sense of control, of peace, of strength returning where you thought it was lost. Listening to the body is a form of mindfulness. We often think of mindfulness as something we practice on a meditation cushion, in a quiet room, eyes closed, breath slow. But true mindfulness, the kind that heals, begins long before we sit. It starts with how we live. How do we move? And yes, how we eat. In Buddhist teaching, ignorance, or avijja, is not just a lack of knowledge. It's the choice to turn away from what we know and live without awareness or presence. In that light, eating without listening to the body is a subtle form of that same ignorance. We eat what we've always eaten. We follow habits, traditions, cravings, without asking, is this what my body needs right now? The truth is, every bite we take is a conversation with our body. And if we're not listening, that conversation becomes one-sided. Symptoms like joint pain, fatigue, swelling are the body's way of speaking back. There's a beautiful saying in Buddhist wisdom: the body is the boat, the mind is the oarsman. If the boat is weak, the journey becomes harder. In other words, your body is not separate from your spiritual path. When your legs are in pain, your energy is low, and your sleep is broken by discomfort, it affects your health, clarity, practice, and ability to be fully present. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, A single bite can be a form of healing if eaten in mindfulness. That means choosing fruit not just for taste, but for harmony. It means noticing how your legs feel after you eat. It means eating slowly, gratefully, gently, not to satisfy an old craving, but to nourish this present moment. The truth is, healing doesn't begin with a pill. It starts in the pause before the bite. In the soft attention you give to your needs and honoring your changing body, not resisting it. Because the body isn't failing you, it's guiding you. And when we begin to listen with compassion, we stop fearing what we must change. We start walking slowly, steadily, back toward balance. Aging is not the end, it's a new beginning. By now you've heard the stories, you've seen the patterns, you've learned how the fruits we trust, pineapple, bananas, grapes, oranges, and mangoes, can quietly work against us as we age. But here's the most essential truth of all. Your body isn't betraying you, it's evolving, and it's asking for your attention, not your blame. Aging doesn't mean giving up. It means tuning in. The stiffness in your knees, fatigue in your legs, and swelling in your ankles aren't failures. They're signals. They're your body saying, please, listen to me, I need something different now. And you don't have to make massive, overwhelming changes. You don't have to overhaul your lifestyle or give up every food you love. You just need to begin with awareness, with one slight shift. Swap the sugary fruit for something gentler. Replace habit with intention. Sit down at the table with curiosity, not guilt. Let each bite reflect kindness. Because as you grow older, your power isn't in how fast you move, but in how deeply you care for the vessel that carries you. So if you're wondering where to start, here's a thought. You don't need to change the whole world. Just change what's on your plate. And you've already taken a big step toward a stronger, healthier, more peaceful life. Your age doesn't define your potential. Your awareness does. So walk gently, eat mindfully, and trust that even now, in this chapter of life, you're still growing, you're still healing, you're still becoming.